No,
I still have the first guitar I ever got. Well, not the very first one. I mean, the first good guitar was a 78 Stratocaster.
Really?
I still have.
I wish
amazing.
I did. But that being said, it would be only for sentimental reasons because the first guitar I had was so bad that it wouldn't be good for anything except for maybe making a table not wobble if you put it under there.
Right. Yeah. Now, what do you remember about your first guitar? Do you remember the make and the model?
Sure, I do. Well, I don't remember the model. When I was a kid, really young, before I even was interested in taking guitar lessons, my mom decided she was going to.
Okay.
And my mom and dad worked full time, so there was an Epiphone acoustic in our closet, my mom and dad's closet, which my mom never touched because my mom was a banker, worked 40 hours a week. My dad is a bricklayer, worked 40 hours a week.
Okay.
And those lessons that she was going to take never happened. And then when I decided I want to, that was my first guitar. And you guys, the strings were so far off the neck.
Wow.
I used to say you could cut cheese. That's all.
Totally
I love that.
But that was my very first acoustic guitar. And then, of course, my first electric guitar was, I think, like a Bentley. It was a black Ace Frehley Les Paul knockoff.
Oh, wow.
I'm so glad everybody's pronouncing Ace's name right. We pronounce Ace's name right on this show, kids.
It's
Damn it.
Frehley. It's not Frehley.
Yeah.
It's Frehley.
I know. Oh,
I don't even know where that came from.
I think Frehley just sounds more common, but yeah, it's Frehley. I have a quick question for you, Ryan.
Yeah, of course.
So I actually saw and got to meet Ace when he played the Palladium in 22. Were you with him on that? Was that?
Yep. You're talking about the Palladium in New York City?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was right off Times Square, right?
Yep. It was the new Palladium because they had moved from like whatever the little old venue was to like probably like a 4,000 seater maybe.
Yeah. And here's the interesting thing about that one, because, when I first heard Palladium going to New York, I thought of the first Palladium where Kiss played their first show with Eric Carr.
Right.
And
okay. Wow.
And I was geeked out about that, thinking we were going there. Yeah. But then as we were going into the city, I learned that it wasn't. But like you guys, whatever venues around you, like, you know how like sheds and arenas change names over the years?
Yep.
So I think where the Palladium was, where you were and we were in 22, before that, it was like Best Buy.
Yeah, it had that it was big and a lot of carpet and stuff.
Yeah.
You guys were great. I mean, there was so much energy in there. And I remember saying to my friends, so my deal is I'm tight with Bruce Bakarsky, and he's really tight with Ace's girlfriend / fiance.
Right.
So that's how, we went there, we got to meet him backstage and all that. But I kept saying to Bruce and his brother Scott, those guitar players were in the whole band. Like Ace is great, obviously. We take that for granted. But I kept commenting on you guys, not knowing we'd eventually be meeting like this. But
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is right now, fast forward a little bit, the end of March, we're going to be at Sony Hall in Times Square.
Oh, wow.
So it can't be far from the Palladium, so we'll have to see you again.
Oh, that would be great.
Oh, yeah. Ace's 10,000 volts tour, I guess, is kind of kicking off. It already has, right? Didn't you guys do a show already?
We just did 3 this weekend. And guys, those shows were makeup shows from the very end of October for those 3 shows early November, because I can't even remember. Somebody got sick. You know what? I do know. It had to be, because if someone else would have gotten sick, we just played. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think Ace had COVID or something at that point.
Yeah.
So these first 3 shows this year were makeup shows from the end of last year.
Oh, wow. Okay. That makes sense, though.
Yeah. So that's how we started. And I just got home last night.
Wow. It was such a great, it was a great show, amazing energy in the room. There was I forgot what song you guys just let him let loose, and he just went hog wild and just started playing all around, all over the neck. And it was just so unbridled, in a good way.
Well, there's 2 moments in the show where that really happens, because obviously it's a Kiss song, so there's a guitar solo in every song. But his 2 moments where would play Shock Me, and then he would, play the solo on the record, and then it goes into his solo by himself where we leave. That's one moment. But then my favorite solo moment of his was always at the end of Black Diamond.
Okay.
You guys remember the Kiss Alive version of Black Diamond?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's always my favorite because I really just love that solo and the things that, and he stays really close to that solo live because his solo in the middle where it's freeform. I don't know what the hell he's doing.
No, that was my comment. It was wonderful, and I love the fact that it's rare that it was so unscripted. It was like, oh yeah, he was just all over the place, and I said to my friends, that's rock and roll. Like he's just having fun. He's all over the neck. He's like, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I feel like doing.
Yeah. There's a portion because we'll be backstage during that for a minute because he does it for like 5 minutes or so.
It was long, yeah, but it was cool. Yeah,
we'll be back there and we'll and there's certain things he'll play every night, and then there's some when it's not, and we'll all be like,
"What is he doing?" Is that we never heard that?
It's before. Like, Meatloaf. I don't know what he's doing back there.
It was It was surreal because it's hard to, you're describing it better than I was able to because he was all over the map and yet it was cool at the same time.
Yeah, he does a little name that tune thing in there, and he will always hear pieces of different songs if it's the Stones or ZZ Top or whatever. But I do agree. Yes, it is fun. I do see people get a kick out of it. And plus, he has the smoking guitar.
Yeah.
And all that stuff you want to see when you see Ace Frehley.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. It just harkens back to the days of we were just talking about this today. By the way, we say this all the time. Every time David and I talk, even if it's like, hey, what's going on? We end up doing a show on the telephone.
Yeah. If we record every time we talk, it would be a show.
So today's show was, we were talking about looking at album covers and albums that open up and there's pictures in there and liner notes and all that
Isn't
stuff.
The best?
And I was just saying to somebody, I can remember the crackling noise at the end of Stairway to Heaven on a record. That it would just fade out and you hear that little crackle and then the needle would pick up and that's side one. We got to flip it over here, side two. Just little things like that. They're just gone. They're just gone.
Oh, yeah.
The kids
and
aren't
the thing is,
do
you guys listen to much vinyl today?
I don't, honestly.
I got mine set up and it works. To feel really old, I realized, oh my God, it's like a 50-year-old turntable.
Get it. But you know what, you guys, in the last, I don't know how. I mean, I never got rid of my vinyl.
Right.
Yeah, I have everything.
But there was a period. But there was a period where I didn't listen to it forever. There was a period for 25 years where I did not even have a turntable set up.
Right.
But then in the last 8 years or so, I've gotten back into it so much, and that's pretty much exclusively if I'm playing something, what I listen to at home. And I've even gone as far as going back and buying replacement copies of a lot of the albums I've had when growing up because I've worn them out so much.
I love that. So let me give you sort of a guitar segue for that.
Sure.
So do you equate, or might you equate, vinyl versus, I guess, iTunes, right? Where you just put it through your phone, to solid state versus tube, or where do you stand in the world of amps? Are you more sort of understanding? Yeah.
Let me tell you. Okay, I'm always the first, and my guitar friends will tell you this. I'm always the first to admit that I'm not like an audiophile.
Gotcha.
Okay. I love a great warm tube amp, and they sound fantastic. And as you guys know, because you play guitar, is because you guys play, and anybody else would know, if we got 10 of the same Marshalls, right?
Right.
We each got a JCM 800 made in the same year. And we plugged in and played to all 10. They would, in fact, all 10 sound differently.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, that being said, some you would like better than others. Well, when we started going out with Gene in 16, 17, we were doing what are referred to as fly dates. And when you do fly dates, the promoter gets a list of your gear. And if you know this, I apologize. I'm not trying to.
I don't know.
No, but you're talking to our entire audience, not just.
Okay, the promoter in each city that you're playing gets a list of gear. Okay, and on that list is the gear that the band specifies that they need for every show. It's just like your riders, like the Brown M&Ms thing with Van Halen.
Yeah.
They have to be this, and to have that gear there when you get there. Going back real quick to the Marshall thing, even if they gave us the exact amp that we needed, they didn't always sound great.
Right.
And that wasn't that guy's fault. It was just like, God, I wish the one we had, and New York last night sounded better than the one we have tonight in Philadelphia. So that was the main reason right off the bat that Philip and Jeremy and I switched to Kempers, which people know is a profiling amp.
Right.
And there's a guy, especially named Michael Britt, who makes. There are a lot of people that make profiles for the Kemper, but Michael Britt, we love his 70s, late 60s in the mid 70s Marshalls, and those were what we were using, and we would just take that with us to every city because it's the exact same amp every night, but you're taking something this big as opposed to lugging a big head on plane, which you can't do. So I'm for that stuff, if you want to call it solid state or whatever, but as opposed to depending on what situation you're in. Now, when we tour and we have a bus and we go out and everything, and you can take your favorite Marshall head with you and everything, or whatever, we opt to do that. But it just comes down to being practical and how you're touring. And if you're flying in a different airport each day and doing that, you can't bring your favorite Marshall cabinet, your favorite Marshall head.
Even when I'm covering Atlantic City dates, I have a fly rig because you got to traipse all your crap through the casino. So, I'm not going to bring a half stack through the casino on a gurney.
So that's my long answer to. I'm not going to talk poorly about one thing versus the other because they both work really well for me. It just depends on the situation you're in, And I know some guys that are totally against the Kemper and totally against a Fractal and totally, saying, no, it doesn't sound anything like the real, Mick Mars will fight you about it.
Yeah.
He'll sit there and go, nope, I'm taking this Marshall with me everywhere I go and I can hear the difference. Like I said, I'm not an audiophile, so,
And another difference is recording versus gigging, right?
Yeah. Yep.
If you're in a studio, how many songs?
The right tone.
Like the little Fender Champ amps that were tube.
Yep.
Half the music we listened to allegedly was recorded on those things.
Absolutely. And if you look at somebody like Joe Perry, or man, the amount of those guys, the amps that those guys bring into the studio, it's just awesome. You look at Joe and Brad, and those guys have access and the money to get the best of the best. So I can only imagine. Trust me, those guys are not using Kempers. Okay.
Yeah, if you can be a purist, it's great, but sometimes it's not practical, like you said.
Right.
It's like going to a rehearsal room and there's a back line there. There's so many places I played. Wow, that's a great back line, and then you go to other places like, oh my god, this is like a line 6 Spider.
See, that's a perfect comparison. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, when you guys, I'm going to use my one experience with you. You guys sounded outstanding. Like the audio quality that I saw was outstanding. So here's sort of so if you were solid state, or as we call it, or Kemper there, I remember remarking like the sound, it was just a phenomenal, it wasn't Phil Spector, but it was a wall of sound. It wasn't.
I get it.
Yeah.
Now, I do specifically remember that weekend.
Yeah.
And here again, for whatever reason, we weren't flying with the only thing that we took that weekend was our guitars. So we were in fact using the supplied backline, and they were all JCM 800s.
Mm-hmm.
Ace uses 2000s, Marshall 2000s. That's what he uses exclusively.
Okay.
But Jerry's usually using JCM 800s.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the sound was outstanding, and it was the perfect size because it's not a club, but it's not Madison Square Garden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great room.
It really was. It was shocking to me because now that you tell me it was a Best Buy, it makes perfect sense.
Remember?
Yeah.
It was called the Best Buy Center, or like Sony Hall before it was the Palladium. And like, how like Pine Knob in Detroit is now is like Cricket Wireless Center. You're like, no, man, that's always going to be Pine Knob to me.
Right.
And that's
some of our guests from the UK are always like shocked, like, why is everything named after a brand here
or a bank? Yeah.
They don't have that there. They don't what is this Staples Center shit? What is this?
Yeah, because see, we have Bridgestone Arena here, which is a tire, company, and then to Louisville, it's the Yum Center because it's owned by KFC.
Wow, that's something.
Yum Center. How anti-rock and roll is that name?
I know.
It's the Yum Center.
It is. Yeah.
So you're in Nashville? Is that where you are? Or where are you?
I'm just south of town.
Okay.
About 12 to 14 minutes in an area called Brentwood.
Oh, I know of Brentwood. Yeah, it's beautiful over there.
Thank you. Yeah, not far from town at all. But honestly, the only time I go downtown to Lower Broadway goes downtown right by the arena towards the football stadium.
Right.
And it's the downtown. It's known as Lower Broad.
Okay.
There, from 10 a.m. to 3 a.m., 7 days a week, are the honky tonks. Wow. Hundreds and hundreds of bars and restaurants and bands playing all at the same time. There's music from 10 to 3. And honestly, the only time I go down there is if someone from out of town comes in and wants to go down and see it. But I kind of stay out there most of the time. It feels kind of like Vegas meets New Orleans down there.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Probably per capita more drunk people than you've ever seen in your life.
That's something. You know, I'm a big Memphis fan, but I've heard wonderful. I've been through Nashville, never actually hung out there.
Well, if you guys come here, you'll be my excuse to go down there and hang out again.
Yeah, maybe we do that before NAMM, Scott.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're looking at NAMM footage and we're like, oh, we know that guy, we know that guy, we know that guy. We'll practically be celebrities if we go to NAMM.
Oh yeah, if you summer NAMM is in Nashville. The convention center where they hold it is literally one street over from Lower Broad that I was just telling you about.
Oh wow,
walking distance. Yeah, it's like a block.
Now we have one of our guests from our COVID era shows, which were horrible Zoom quality, but we think pretty good content. Noah Pelty is actually making a name for himself there now. He's got some good songwriting credits, and I think he's got a record deal.
Yeah,
there's so many artists flowing through that town, boy.
Brian Mackey, season 1 guest. He spent some time there, but I think he's back up north again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
but
everybody seems to be spent. If they're not living here, they seem to come to try to spend a little time here anyway, because it's just so busy here now. It's crazy.
Wow.
And one of our guests was talking to us about it, about just sort of the writing there and how they were very happy with the environment, a very supportive environment for artists who, or maybe it was Noah, I forget, but just talking about connecting with other people in an artistically supportive environment.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, do you find that there, like community wise?
Absolutely. You know, no matter what anybody says, I know it's changed a lot, especially in the last 10 to 12 years. Country music is always going to be the heartbeat of this town.
Right. Right.
And that's just to give it. I mean, and it should be. That's what everything was built on here. That is the music industry, at least in Nashville.
It's like Chicago is to blues. You know, it's never
exactly.
It's never going to completely disappear. It always has a foothold in the history of the town and the music.
Yeah, right. And you know, for so many decades now, there are been so many major publishing companies here, and publishing companies are the ones that actually put songwriters under contract. A lot of those songwriters aren't necessarily artists. They literally just go in like an 8 to 5 gig, and they write songs all day, every day. And then those songs are then taken by their publisher who signed them, and they're pitched to the different artists, A&R people, and management, and that kind of thing to get, like, for example, Joe Blow comes in and writes what's a great new country song, and he writes for, you know, Sony Music Publishing, and Sony goes and pitches it to Blake Shelton and his label, and then Blake Shelton cuts it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's always really songwriter-oriented town. And then all the pop writers started coming here as well. And it became not just a country music songwriting place. It became like a songwriter's hub.
That makes sense.
World coming here because, you know, this goes back to people like Christofferson.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was a perfect example of getting songs cut before he actually became an artist. Like, he was literally mopping floors at a studio when me and Bobby McGee was cut.
Wow.
And now, you know, everybody comes here to meet up with other songwriters and just try to get something good out of it, or just kind of learn their craft a little better. It's really serious. I
guess it's such serious stuff too, right?
Oh,
this is a career, and I would imagine the level of sophistication of understanding whatever your genre is,
right,
in creating something that, number one, is sellable to an artist, and number two is something that from that artist would be sellable to us. You know?
Yeah, and you know what? It's so it's like, it's not accidental that certain artists, because the main thing about country, since that's the main thing here, because most of the country artists are here. When those writers I was telling you about sit down and write a song, they look at what is called a pitch sheet.
Okay.
A new pitch sheet is generated usually like every month, And the publishers go and they scour all the labels and management companies and producers and stuff, and they find out there's a schedule of who's cutting songs that year or that month, and what type of songs are they looking for. This guy's looking for a drinking song. This guy's looking for a new big ballad. This girl's looking for a love song. And then so guys will sit and go, man, this is a cool idea. Let's try to write something to get Miranda Lambert's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally how it's done, man. It's not just
it's like a superstore for songwriters.
Yeah.
Or people are looking for a songwriter.
Absolutely. And it's so weird too, because the way the music I grew up in and everything, reading Deep Purple records and Kiss records and Van Halen records and all that, there weren't very many other names besides the band members in those bands.
Yeah.
Until Kiss Paul wrote with Desmond
Child.
There weren't really. I mean, King of the Nighttime World was written by Kim Fowley originally. He's on there, and then Paul and Bob did their thing to it as well. But Kiss was not a band that did outside songs. Aerosmith was not a band that did outside songs. And exceptions don't make the rule. But then you look later on, Kiss started writing with a lot of outside people. Aerosmith with a lot of outside people.
Absolutely. That Pump record's loaded with guys that didn't, they didn't write a whole lot of those songs.
Yeah. And, Permanent Vacation.
And look where the big hits came from.
Yeah.
So the later on big hits, I mean.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Radio play.
And the funny thing is, like, being an old timer that I am, I have a bias against folks who don't write their own songs. It's not fair.
I get it.
But listen, I do.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Like, I mean, really the bands, like, you could take like a Blake Shelton, and he does a great job with the song. And I don't mean that by artists who, will do a lot, bring in other songs. But if you're like I don't, Dolly Parton does, right? I'm trying to think of other country folks.
She's a mom. Like,
she's prolific. Yeah.
Yeah. Alan Jackson writes so much of his own stuff, man.
Okay.
Alan makes 2 or 3 outside songs in his career.
All right. So who can we diss? Who's someone?
Well, look, let me tell you it this way.
Garth Brooks got one of his biggest songs written by Billy Joel.
Oh, listen,
that was a huge record for him.
See, but here's the deal. You look at someone like Garth. He's a good example because no one's bigger than Garth as far as right.
Yeah.
He will happily and proudly tell you and give credit to Kent Blasey and all these different guys who wrote his biggest hits and going, I couldn't have done it without these guys' music.
Oh, that's great then.
I appreciate the honesty in that.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, but listen, I don't know. You say you're an old timer. I don't know how old you are. I'm 54, so I consider myself.
Oh, you're a kid.
Okay.
I'm just about 60, but yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you, though, growing up the way we did,
the
3 of us, and seeing people write music the way they did, our Aerosmiths, our Kisses, our Van Halens, and stuff. I understand why because I'm wired to think the same way you are.
Yeah.
But I will tell you the other side of the fence on that.
Yeah.
I know some of the most kick-ass songwriters in the world that are so happy that there's a Steven Tyler or somebody because they're like, I can only write it. I don't have the talent to sing it. And the only way their music heard is to have one of those guys sing.
They're giving it to them and they're making it great.
I see both.
Or sometimes they write songs with that artist in mind. There was a pretty famous Billy Joel story that he wrote a song he wanted to give to Frankie Valli, and Frankie Valli was like, that song's shit. So he recorded the song and sang it like Frankie Valli.
Uptown Girl, is that the one?
One of those.
Yeah.
But he just said, it's probably Uptown Girl. That sounds like a Frankie Valli.
I can see the video in my head now.
I can too.
He kind of got pissed off that he didn't want it. So he's like, oh, guess what, fucker? I'm going to record it myself.
Hey, watch your fucking language, Scott. We don't curse on this show.
We're not on PBS anymore.
I understand where you're coming from.
And I think it's unfair of me to have that attitude. I know that. But I was sort of raised with that bias, musically raised.
I think it's the same way with I actually have friends that have been on some of the TV shows.
Okay.
I have a personal thing where I'm not a fan of that kind of thing. It doesn't mean I'm right.
Right.
But the way I grew up and people got signed and made it happen was a lot different than, the way that it's done now.
Winning the lottery with one song on television.
Yeah.
Right.
So we all have our, good luck to everybody though, right?
Yeah. And you know what's a great example of that? To agree completely with your point. Mm-hmm. So I have the same bias. If you become famous because you're on one of those shows, it's not cool. And then our generation would say the way you do it is like, what David Grohl always says, you go out, you tour, you work your ass off, right? Well, we have someone who did our show who's done both. So Mariah Formica of Plush, she was on she was on The Voice.
Yeah.
But now she tours, and her whole band, they're amazing. Yeah, they're working their asses off, so they're doing both. So your point is exactly right. Us old farts probably have, like a slightly unfair attitude because they've got it all,
Yeah. No, I get it. There's something to be said though that and I'll stand by this forever. And doesn't mean I'm right, but there's something about going out with your band, or even if you're by yourself. And man, when you have to do those miles by yourself, and you have to get shit on, and you got to stuff, and you have some great nights and you have some really bad nights, but you stay out there and you do it for years, and then it pays up. Man, I have a lot of respect for that because I say this, I use this phrase too much, but it's like I've starred in that movie.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people do it and quit, and that's okay, because if something's not working for you and you don't want to do it anymore, there's nothing wrong with admitting something's not working.
And music business cannot be any tougher right now, right? With the streaming and this and that, and trying to make a buck, and
it's just so different. It's so different.
It's a totally different deal.
But you talk about people like Grohl and all that.
Yeah.
What a work ethic.
Yep. And
he's got a foothold in the old school ways for sure.
Yeah.
I don't care if people are a Foo Fighters fan or not, or even going back to a Nirvana fan or not. You cannot poke holes in that guy's work ethic.
It's insane.
I love it.
And he's always got a smile on his face.
He does.
He's a lot like Phil X in that regard. Like, he's a positive energy guy.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
And that is the most attractive, and I'm not saying like in a relationship, but seeing that with other players, that draws me to anybody more than anything, is the attitude you bring.
Yep.
And, if there were two guys up for the same gig and I was hiring a band and they were really close, even if one guy was a little bit better player, you know what I mean? But the other guy was a much better hang, I would give the other guy a much better hang with the better attitude the time than I would.
Absolutely. Especially you got to be stuck on a tour bus with them.
Right. Yeah.
It goes a long way. It really makes a big deal.
Tour buses are great. How about being stuck in a van?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. You might have actually accidentally quoted one of our season 1 guests who said exactly, I think it was Kenny Dubman, but it could have been someone else. Literally said what you said. If you have a couple of guys or women applying for guitar, bass, whatever, and one's a little better, but the one who's not as good is someone you could see yourself getting along with 10 times out of 10, you're going to pick the person you can get along with. And
granted, that's very true. And granted, though, I'm not saying. I mean, the other person that we're going to get along with, they have to be good.
Right.
But it's if there's that one thing, there's that deciding factor, and one guy, if I get a little bit of a glimpse of a shithead somewhere, I'm gone.
Yeah,
I mean, look what happened to the Wonders. They broke up over that. They had that obnoxious guitar player.
Movie is Mr. White. I quit.
That's right.
I quit. You remember?
I quit.
The I Quit song was like the best song in the whole album.
Oh my God, that's so great. That's such a great moment. I watch every time that comes on. I watch that movie.
When I was in Hair of the Dog, that was one of the movies on our bus that was in heavy rotation, man.
Yeah.
Always on that, and I think Austin Powers had just come out.
Yeah.
We had a bootleg copy of that, so we had that on the bus too. So just that's all we watched for 6 months. But the Wonders.
Yeah.
What's going on with RCMC? You guys touring again, or are you putting out a record?
We're going to. It's one of those things where we're in the fortunate position of being in a band with Ace.
Right.
Working a lot.
That's where I'm going with this. I know you're busy with Ace, but sometimes another project's got to take a back seat or whatever.
Yeah, well, thanks for even bringing up that we did it. We did the record. It came out July last year, produced by Marty Fredrickson, who we talked about earlier as far as the Aerosmith stuff and everything goes. He wrote and produced a lot of stuff with Aerosmith and still works with Steven a lot. Did that record with him. It came out here in July. It came out in Europe in December. And I like to feel, having been in this a long time, I kind of feel like I've gotten pretty good at managing my expectations.
Right.
Of what to expect and what not to expect and that kind of stuff. I am sitting here in front of you happy to tell you that this record's, the buzz on this record and the sales on this record have exceeded my expectations.
It's way good. I was listening to it. I'm on staycation this week, so I'm just playing it up. So there's a little QR code if you want to scan that with your phone. That'll take you right to iTunes.
Awesome, thank you. And if you guys ever want to dust off your record players, I'll be happy to send you guys the vinyl so you can listen to the vinyl too.
Nice.
Oh, I'll take a vinyl from you. That would be great.
We've got red vinyl and blue vinyl. It's 180 grams.
Yes, I saw that. That's awesome. I love that you're embracing that because it really, we were looking at some of your bio notes, and it just brings me back. Looking at, like we said, talking about looking at records and stuff. Circus Magazine, right?
Oh, God. Bible.
Right. In town here, we had the Aquarian, which was a bunch of local bands.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and on TV, you had Don Kirshner's rock concert, Midnight Special. SNL. Now it depends who's on SNL that week, but that was a big thing. You didn't have YouTube where you could see a live performance. You had to wait, and tune in exactly at the right time.
So let me ask you guys this, since I know you're supposed to be asking me stuff, but okay. So having Circus Magazine, Hit Parader Magazine,
yes,
Cream,
okay. Yeah.
Those were my three favorites, and then I had Don Kirshner's rock concert and Midnight Special.
Right.
So, do you remember? And this is what I used to do: is run to the newsstand, and it only happened once a month because you had to wait. That was for the three of us. That was our window.
Yes.
Into the music world, and you didn't know anything until the next issue came out. Like when I was a kid, I didn't realize that records were released on a certain day each week. Like that was released. So all I would do when I was little was run into a record store and just fucking pray that there would be a new Kiss or Van Halen record.
That's
in the store, and then when you would see it, it would just be this huge surprise. But my question to you is, do you think that having too much access to all the artists now, and it's been this way for 30 years now, having too much access has taken away the mystique of the fan-to-band relationship?
Yeah, you want to go first, Scott? Yeah.
Well, I can remember specific artists. There was such a they had such a persona that you didn't really know what they were like as a real person.
Exactly. Did Jimmy Page really live in a castle and practice the occult?
Right.
Unapproachable. I mean, if I ever got to meet Pete Townsend back then, I'd be scared to death that he was gonna punch me in the nose for no reason.
Yeah.
He just looks like an angry badass,
But and I think that it's so true. Now, the only thing, and I agree with you, so I'm just putting out there a counterpoint, is that now it's a little more egalitarian. So we had, we all grew up around the same time. We had the royalty, we had, the British invasion for our age was not, the Beatles were kind of done. Yeah. But we had the Stones, the Who, Zepp, look, I've got Jethro Tull here, we had all those bands, but, Kinks, stuff like that, fewer than 25, 30 rockish bands.
Yep.
And now people don't have the reverence anymore.
Right.
But the kids today, and I can't relate to this, but they're exposed to a wider breadth of music.
Yeah, they are.
And they're, it's funny, I was just driving my daughter, who's 23, with one of her friends back to New York yesterday.
Yeah.
And her friend has been following some guy on, I guess, Instagram or one of the social media platforms. And he does not really EDM, but he does something. I don't know what the hell it is because I'm too old. But he does. But she's been a fan of his.
I'm proud of you that you knew what EDM was.
Yeah.
That sounds like a candy.
It's for erectile dysfunction.
No. That's the joke. Yeah. Bravo, Dave. We have our clip for next week.
There we go. The last clip was when I talked away from the mic like that.
Great.
But so what I loved is that we're driving back, and she follows him on Instagram, and the next thing you know, they're having a digital conversation together.
Wow.
Now, and she had the same perspective as Scott or I, because I'm also a Who fanatic.
Yeah.
If I had a conversation with Pete, Roger or John or Keith, I think was dead just as I became a fan, like 78, 79. But
yep.
And so there is a little more access, but everything is diluted. I don't think we're going to get gods like that. I mean, we have Taylor, which is a whole conversation.
Yeah.
But that's, I don't know where we put it. I think it's more rooted in her creating such a live persona.
Oh man.
But you're in Nashville, so you can. She was once a country star.
I mean, the king of personas, Kiss. All the guys in Kiss.
Yeah, you're right.
Like we were like, I wonder what they look like without makeup. I wonder what they're like in real life. I wonder. They didn't even seem like humans. They seemed like they're from outer space, especially Ace, right?
Yeah.
No, everything you just said and more. It's like, and God, and being so young and impressionable,
right?
And seeing for the first time. I mean, talk about listening with your eyes. Like you were talking about earlier,
bigger than life, just bigger.
I don't know if we were recording that, but earlier you were talking about an album and opening it up that a gatefold.
Kiss Alive, yeah.
Nobody at that time outdid the gatefold lover of gatefold album of Kiss Alive 2.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, do you remember opening that? Because first of all, the cover of their four faces and G, and then when you open it, oh Jesus! And then the tattoos fell out. Remember?
Right.
I don't remember that part, but I remember the album.
Sheet, and
you get all kinds of goodies, posters, all kinds of crap in those fold-out records.
And then, of course, don't forget the order form to buy more Kiss stuff.
Right. Well, Gene's a genius with that stuff.
He is.
But here, let's talk about you in relation to that experience. So you're doing that as a kid, and now it's allegedly 2024, and we're talking to you. You're on tour with Ace. Yep. You've jammed with Gene. What kind of fantasy realization is that for you?
I didn't realize it. First of all, it's not lost on me. I am I'm not the only person, but I am on a short list of people because Kiss was, man, you know how there are certain bands that we would see on TV or go see a concert and they would get up and jam each other. Kiss was never a jam band.
Right.
Right? One of the few times that someone came on stage with them was when Joe Perry got on stage with them when Kiss and Aerosmith toured together 15 years ago or something, right?
Yeah.
But Kiss is not just jam, or like you don't see someone from Kiss get up with someone or vice versa.
Right.
That being said, there aren't very many people that have can raise their hand and say that they've now played with all four original members of Kiss.
Wow. Yeah.
Say that. So that's pretty cool to me. So that's not lost on me.
Very cool.
All I can feel is like maybe, people always say that you totally can manifest stuff. Listen, I was a Kiss freak fanatic as a child. I mean, into my adulthood still. And I just can't tell you. Like, playing with, Paul was a one-time fluke thing.
Okay.
Peter was a one-time thing, but I did I was on stage performing like we did. I Stole Your Love with Paul.
Listen, it counts. It
does count.
But being hired by two of the founding members, Gene and Ace, to do this was
that's unbelievable.
Pretty heavy. It's kind of, you know what? Honestly, someone could kind of make a pretty cool, at least short film about it.
I bet.
It really is. I definitely know that there are a lot of people that would love to trade places with me, and I am honored by that and humbled by that, and I realize how fortunate I am, but I work my ass off too.
Right. Well, that's the thing. They are so good. They're not letting you on because you're a fan. They're letting you on because you're fucking good. Thank you. And you work hard at it. Like, I mean, I think Scott and I decided at the end of the show we'll play a piece of that video you guys did.
Okay.
Right?
Rock City Machine, Rambling Gambling.
The
vocals are great, and I just so good.
And you're having fun.
When you made the transition to playing, you're primarily a guitar player, but I play bass too, so I kind of get it. So I start off playing bass, then I switched over to guitar, and now guitar is my main instrument.
And you played drums when we were together. No, before we were together.
Yeah,
you're
multi-instrument guys.
You're a yeah.
But when did you made that transition to play bass? Did you have trouble with that, or did you not want to do it? Or
no? Here's what happened though. We had a couple personnel changes because I don't know if anybody remembers this. When we were with Gene, it was 3 guitars.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, me, Phil, and Jeremy were on guitar. Gene was on bass, and we had a drummer. Right? Ace called Gene before we went to Australia, and he said, "Gene, listen, do you think, because Ace was going to open for us, would you be opposed to me using your band so then I can just go over and I don't have to bring my band and blah, blah, blah?" And Gene said, "Ask Ryan." Right? This was in an email thread.
Right.
And I reached back out to Gene privately away from the group thing. And I said, "Are you really okay with this?" Because, you don't know. And I wasn't going to say yes or no to anything until I talked to him. Because what if he would have just been being nice? "Oh, sure, you can ask Ryan, but he wouldn't want me to do it." I did. I asked him. He had no problem. He's like, "Absolutely, go do it as long as we're still good." So we were playing with Gene and Ace. At the end of that tour was when we knew it was ending. Gene was going back to Kiss to begin the farewell. And he told Ace, he's like, "You should use this band from this point forward." So that's how Ace ended up with, me and Jeremy on guitar, Phil on bass, and Matt on drums at the time. Well, we had some personnel changes where the bass player, first Phil, then Zach, had to go do some other gigs. And Ace finally was just like, "Look, will you just play bass talking to me?"
Right.
And it came through a text message, I think, or I think maybe he asked Jeremy to ask me, is might have what happened. And my first reaction was no.
Yeah.
But before I did it, I ran downstairs here because where I sit and practice and recording things over there. And I picked up my bass and I played through the set real quick. And I was like,
and you had fun with it. Didn't you?
I'm so doing this.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Truth be told, and I've even said this to Ace, for me personally, it's more fun to play bass in his band than it is to play rhythm guitar.
I could totally.
Oh, that makes sense. Right.
How many times I just go downstairs and just put on my bass and just play to whatever comes to mind to see if I could just pull it off by ear.
So number one, I appreciate him trusting me to do it. And number two, though, man, did Gene have some killer bass lines in those kids?
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
You really
absolutely
hear the genius of it and like, boy, that's an interesting choice that he did it that way.
Yeah.
Kind of like when you play Paul McCartney stuff. It's very melodic and like this is not the way a normal bass player plays.
And that's Gene's idol.
Right.
Is
like there is a common thread there.
So you listen to all the stuff that Gene did. It's not just your knucklehead doot. You know what I mean? It's moving, it's walking, it's melodic. It's almost like lead bass.
Well, that's very cool. Yeah. And it's nice, that Gene was gracious or magnanimous enough to not make it, sort of like the alligator arms check thing where you don't really mean it,
Yeah.
He meant it, and that was smart of you, just in terms of relationships, to pull him off the chain and say you're really good with this, showing your loyalty to him. That absolutely, and kudos to him, for supporting that.
I gotta tell you, going back to what you said earlier about playing with both of them, man, those nights when we went out and opened with Ace and then ran off stage and changed shirts and fouled off and then went back out with Gene, man, what a cool night for us. What did you do tonight? Play Kiss songs with Ace and Gene all night.
That's
just downplay it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
That's dream come true kind of stuff.
It is.
I just want to point out that we put up the RCMC Linktree QR code by David's head. If
I'll get closer
you guys scan
to it.
that with your phone, it'll take you to their Linktree.
There we go. Right.
Aim for David's head.
Yeah.
and we love QR codes on this show. And we do the show live, and people scan the code. The computer tells us that so many people are scanning it. But of course, this is taped for broadcast. We won't see that, but a lot of people do like that and click on it.
That's great. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
but I'm gonna send you. I'll send you guys LPs.
Oh my God, we would love that.
Just let me know what color you want.
All right.
Oh, I trust you. You pick.
All right. I'll surprise you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you have coming up? So we talked about you're touring obviously with Ace.
Yep.
What else is what late before you for 2024?
So just got home last night. This is the beginning of Ace for the whole rest of the year.
Right.
Ace just an agent, a new booking agency, BTE, which is going to be great for him. It's going to be really busy. The next thing we have with Ace is we're shooting another video in New York the first week of February. Then after that, we go on a Monsters of Rock cruise.
Oh, that's great.
That's right. I forgot he's doing that.
Ace on a boat.
Say hi to Eddie Trunk for us.
Yeah.
He's always going on that thing. New Jersey guy.
Oh, I know Ed well. That's going to be a fun lineup. It's us, The Darkness, Extreme.
Oh yeah.
Satriani. Wait, I mean, you name it.
There's so many.
Monsters puts, like, I'm not exaggerating for effect. They put like 40 bands on.
It's crazy.
It is.
There's always something going on. But we only play twice.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I just got they gave us the schedule Saturday night. We were at sound check and we were talking about it. Like, I wonder when we play. And then our TM goes, "Oh, I have the schedule right here." So we're playing. The cruise leaves on like the 2nd.
Right.
So on the 3rd, we do our first headline show. We play the theater at 6:30 p.m.
Okay.
And then either the day before or the day after that, we have the fan meet and greet.
Okay.
Where we're just there and the whole ship comes through and gets their picture taken with you. So we do that for a while.
Sit on Santa's lap.
Yeah. So the 3rd, and then on the 5th is our next show, and we play the theater again. And I can't remember what time that show is. So, 2 shows in 5 days, it's not too bad. It's good work if you can get it.
Yeah. That's really good work. And especially for something like that, I mean, just the drink fest that I'm sure it is.
We call it a booze cruise.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. So that's a great thing. So you got that going on.
Yeah.
And then Ace has the new album out.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys might know this better than me. I'm quite positive the record comes out in February, but I don't know the date.
I think it's February.
Okay. So the week after that is when we shoot our next video.
Okay.
We shot the video for 10,000 volts last year, the end of the year.
Really great song, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks. And then the last weekend before the one we were just doing, Ace shot another video without the band.
With the spaceman suit. I saw that with the green screen.
That's what I heard.
I don't know what he's doing.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Looks cool.
And then if the record comes out on the 2nd or 3rd, then I think we shoot our next video on the 9th. And it's somewhere in New York. I don't know anything yet.
This is good stuff. So I got to say, this, there are those shows that stand out. This is absolutely one of them.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
And just like that, we did an hour.
Yeah.
Is it an hour?
Yeah. The story we always like to tell, a personal friend and a friend of the show, Todd Yasui, is a producer in LA, but he's met a zillion rock stars. We put him on the show when we were back in the studio, and we ended up doing maybe 65, 70 minutes, and it felt to him like it was 5 or 10.
Crazy
fast.
See, that's good conversation though, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way we like it.
Yeah.
We don't want any of those cricket moments.
No.
And if we get any of those, we just cut them out and post.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'll be putting up a lot of pictures and tour dates and stuff.
Well, you know what?
One
thing that's my fault is because of my ADD and I'm like squirrel. But
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So we're getting offers. RCMC did a licensing distribution deal in Europe because I told you the record came out December 1st.
Right.
They are really trying to get us on tour over there this year.
That'd be awesome.
That could be fun.
And man, as much as I told you about managing expectations, I can't believe how well the record is doing over
we
there.
are going to close out the show a Rambling Gambling Man.
Okay, cool.
We won't play the whole thing because if you go to YouTube and click that QR code, kiddies, you can
watch
see it in all its glory and some other songs too.
Yeah, we also have a
From
video for
RCMC.
the last time, and yeah, so we will be out there. I can't give you dates right now, and I'm not trying to be vague or secretive. I just don't have them, and I have the fortunate of having two things to work with, and so I'm going to be able to do both of them. But you know me, it's like I will make it work.
You will make it work. And so the last question we always ask: how do people find you?
Okay, so Instagram, I am Ryan Cook 1969.
Perfect.
Facebook,
Look at that. Scott is so good.
Damn.
Scott is so good.
All over it. I love this. Facebook, I'm Ryan Spencer Cook.
Okay.
And then on Facebook, there's also a Rock City Machine Group fan page. Actually,
Perfect.
Rock City Machine Co. And then also on Instagram, Rock City Machine Co. ROCKCITYMACHI.
Oh, Scott's a monster.
Faster than I can spell. I love it.
Or you just go to the Linktree QR code on the.
And we have a bunch of stuff in
David's
Linktree too, like all the articles and stuff, reviews.
Yeah, there's tons of stuff there. That just takes you all over.
I am the worst social media guy in the world. Like, even when we were kids, or anybody who was a kid, you see the two paper cups and a string.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how I still feel to be navigating social media.
That's great. Hey, we found you and you found us, so you did all right.
Yeah, special thanks to Rick Taylor over there at Vintage.
Rick,
that's right.
I think he's the one that sort of introduced us.
Yep.
Sure did.
And
we love
Phil
him.
Shout
And Kevin Easton as well.
Yeah.
Who works in the Vintage custom shop there. They both have been beyond supportive. I love those guys.
Yeah. They sent
Really great
Scott
stuff.
and I this great box right here.
From Jackson Audio.
It is the coolest thing ever. It is a it's a recreation of the Silvertone sound, which I love because it's basically Sears. And it's, if you were here and you held it, it's heavy. I mean, this thing is built beautifully, and it's simple. Yeah.
That's
so
great.
He was, after we did the show, he was so
They
proud.
sort of just announced
what does
that
it
at the
do?
show. I saw a couple of videos of it.
It's sort of like a fuzz box, but not really.
Okay.
It you know what it is? Sky, you tell me if I'm wrong. It's almost like an old school modeling, but but there's no computer in it. You know, right. But it's kind of modeling the old Silvertone, but it's doing it in an old school way.
They're using FETs in there instead of tubes.
Yeah.
You get that.
And it's giving you just sort of some gentle overdrive, right. I think I'd call it. And it's gentle. You're not going to get a really screaming sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend that plays exclusive 70s slide guitar, he loves that thing. He's been messing with it for the last 2 months. I don't know if I'll ever get it back.
Call Rick.
It's right up his alley.
Yeah.
He loves it. So go buy your own.
It's the end of March. It's probably a weekend.
So I got a 50-50 chance.
I'm inviting you right now.
Well, thank you. I'm in if I could do it. I would love to do it.
If I don't have a gig and I'm off, I'm there.
Okay.
It's happening.
It's
Thank
funny
you.
Because New York and Jersey are gate because Ace tells us he's just inviting this family, but he invites 80. We don't get any guests, but it's his band. So
right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's definitely the New York groove.
Yeah.
That's right. I know.
So let's end the show, David. Here, let's see if this works.
I know it'll work.
I hope so.
I trust you, Scott.
There it is.
Yeah.
I know those guys.
There you go.
Awesome.
It did work.